Hey, it's Jason at J&J Farms. Got a little quick tip for anybody that uses a Dillon precision powder measure. You see right here that I have a spring clip from one of the primer pickup tubes that people use if they don't have one of the automatic primer fillers. And I've got that wedged, if we can get it to focus there, in between that bolt and the spring washer. And what that does is it creates some tension and stops that set bolt from turning when you're running. And it also gives you a point of reference to see if your powder charge has changed in minute scale while you're running. So it solves the problem that a lot of people have with the powder charges drifting while they're running, and helps in the fact that you don't have to check your powder charges in your scale as often while you're running. It allows you to run for longer periods of time without having to recheck for variations or fluctuations in your powder charge. So just a little tip for you out there if you're running one of these. It may help solve some of your issues. Another item. This is this cam for camming over the case feed. Right here, case feed arm cams over. Here's the one that's installed. Now there's a piece of I cannot for the life of me remember what they call that, unithread, or it's not all thread, but anyway, there's a threaded insertion in there, in that hole. If I can get the camera to there it goes. Anyway, when you run this, you have an Allen bolt that screws in there through this piece here. And what will happen is, if you end up, like, say if you're running 9mm or 40 caliber or 45, what you'll end up with is every now and then you'll have a 45 with a 40 in it, or a 40 with a 9 in it, or something along those lines. And when you're running those calibers, this little bushing right here doesn't have a cutout in it, and it'll contact that, and it'll push that cam backwards. And when that happens, it'll pull that thread out, and it'll ruin this thing. Now, you can call Dillon, because it's a 650, and you can get a replacement, but you've got to wait days for your replacement to come in. So what I did is I drilled this thing through all the way from one side to the other, and then through bolted it. Now what that allows you to do is it allows you to put a little bit more pressure on this thing so it doesn't move as easily, and it doesn't shut you down, because you don't have to stop and wait for Dillon to send you replacement parts. And when I do grease these things, and if I wear them out eventually, I just replace it, and I'll drill the next one through also, just because I don't want to mess with that little Allen screw getting tore up and having to pull that threading out and all that stuff. I just go ahead and just drill it through and call it good. And I do that through both sides. Now underneath here, in this area right here, there is a little piece that runs down through the middle of that. If you'll run your drill bit through this hole and use it as a pilot hole and push it through, it'll drill through those. You got to be really careful though not to wallow this area here out, or you'll end up with a problem. But you can tighten this down really good and keep it from moving backward and forward. Dillon recommends that you run this exactly flush with the back of this carrier here. However, I have found that if you run this all the way up and just barely contact this surface right here, it tends to work a little bit better. So that's another tip for your Dillon presses. Another little tip for you. I've taken the cover off, of course, for this video. This is the Lee primer filler. I apologize for the messy bench, but anybody who knows you do a lot of loading, you get a messy bench. Anyway, this is the A plate that you get with this. You see the A on top of it? There are two. There's an A and a B. The B plate is for if you're running Magnum primers. They're a little bit thicker than your standard primer is, so you need to run. On the A plate, there is a little, underneath there's a little ramp that that runs from here up to right here, and what that does, it's a little flat spot that allows the primer to move from there across through here and not flip over when it makes it into this pickup area where it falls down into this magazine. If you start having a lot of, there's a cat in the video by the way, if you start having a lot of issues with your primers flipping over, one of the things you can do is you can take this plate over, flip it over, and put a dab of super glue or crazy glue or something along those lines on that, and kind of smooth it out, and put a couple, that'll give it a couple thousandths more height on that. And when you get that dry and you flip it over, your primers will stop flipping over, and they'll stay up and straight up and down, because they're contacting that contact patch all the way to here when they get over this area where they drop down into the magazine. The primers, if they have a problem, you can always take and put a small sliver of cardboard. I've got a piece of a primer box right here that if I have an issue with a little bit higher primers, I can take and just stick that right under the edge of that, and it lifts this plate up just a little bit and allows those primers to go on underneath it. Some cases of primers are higher than others when it comes to the anvil height, and they may hang on that if you've just done this. So you can just put a little piece of a real thin strip of cardboard or something under there to hold that up and allow those to pass through until you get a little bit of wear on there. Or you can take this off and turn it upside down and take a straight razor blade and kind of just give it a few slight scrapes to take some material off of this. It would allow you to fix this issue, but you've got to be really, really careful that you don't take too much off, or you'll be back to square one or worse. And you don't want to have flipped primers. That's just bad. It makes for bad ammunition. You can't shoot it that way. As always, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, share with your friends.